in today's session, we are going to, this is me, Aman Sharma. So in today's session, we are going to know about how actually internet works, and this will actually help you understand how someone arrives at your website. And we'll also see what is internet protocol, that is IP. Most probably it's the IP address. And then we'll see about content delivery network, which is foremost the most talked about topic in modern internet history. And then we are going to talk about name servers. These are the places where actually our domain name data is saved. Something about SSL, web application firewall, and zones. So today we are going to learn all about what it takes to direct your website and move it to a particular server. So far in the first go, we saw that how many different type of hosting actually exist, and which kind of hosting is best for you. And in the second session, we actually saw how you can actually control your own like hosting types and all those things. And then next we saw how does the rendering and different things works. And now we are going to finally see how you can actually point your domain name to actual server. So for that, we need to first of all understand how our internet works. So I would take you through a small journey of how a person, whenever he visits a website like youtube.com or any web application that exists. So what it actually is working around is he's actually having a client computer. So this is the place where actually the request originates. Then this request is sent to the firewall. The firewall decides if this actually needs to go to the internet or not. So this is the first level of verification that makes sure that there is no unwanted content on the internet network. But most probably it just passes through it. And then you have router. So a router decides which server it needs to go and check. And then you have a proxy server. Now the name proxy actually means that it is a kind of replacement, and it just replaces the address whenever you are going to fetch a internet. So same as like if you some of you have done a proxy in college. Whenever our friend is not present in a class, what do we usually do? We do a proxy for his attendance, right? So we kind of fake ourselves that we are that person. So it's not possible on internet network to have a server present for every domain name and every like location and geographical location. So that's why we have something called as proxy server that acts like an actual server but are not. So this proxy server then takes the request to a DNS server. A DNS server matches the domain name against the IP address where it is hosted. So for example, youtube.com will have an IP address of this, facebook.com will have an IP address of this. Every machine has its own IP address, and same is the case with server. So then the web server takes this request and then sends back the information to proxy server, go back to the router, goes to the firewall, and then receives to the client computer. So this is how the whole journey is working on. Now your concern should be this part. These two blocks is where the hosting magic actually happens. This is where we actually control how different domain names will point to different servers and how they will actually manipulate the information to show the desired result to the client. So let's go ahead and see what is our IP address. It's a numeric address. In case of IPv6 that we will see in the later slide, the address can be alphanumeric. So imagine IP address like your phone number. So if somebody needs to call you, he needs to know your phone number. So in the same manner, if somebody wants to reach a particular web application, he needs to know the IP address of that website. And without IP address, we cannot run internet at all. So every machine in the world, even if it's a small smartwatch or a IoT enabled ring finger or like something like that, anything that needs to connect with the internet needs to have an IP address. And all IP addresses are unique. No two IP address can be same. And this is how it identifies a computer or a designated network. So they actually consist of two parts. One is the network address, that is the prefix part, and then it is the host address, which is the suffix part. And combining both of these things create IP address. Fortunately, you don't need to worry about IP address. Every hosting provider or internet service providers provide you with a random IP address that needs to be unique, and you just need to take care about this IP address and see that thing. So IP address is again of two formats. One is IPv4 and one is IPv6. IPv6 is more latest than IPv4. The difference between these two is that IPv4 is only numerics, but IPv6 is alphanumeric, which can be like I68218, something like this. And this obviously because it's numeric, so it's a 32-bit numeric address because all these digits are from 0 to 255. but these has to be 128 because all have from 0 to 1 and then A to Z. So these characters can exist in IPv6 address. They occur in form of octets of 255. So there are estimatedly, I don't know, like 1, 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, lakh, 10 lakh, crore, 10 crore, and I don't know what is after crore. So these are the number of IP address that can be generated, and so they are like particularly out of how many devices on a planet can exist. So I myself had a question at one moment, what if we run out of IP address? So that is not actually possible. So there are so many IP address that they cannot run out any time soon. So even if they run out, then you have IPv6, which has more characters. So they say like somehow it's 340 undecillion combinations are possible. I don't know what decillion is, but that sounds like a big number. So it seems like there are no way that IP addresses are getting away. Same like there is no way that phone number at one point a phone number can start be recurring. So this is the current version of IP address. Most internet uses IPv4, and this is next generation of IPv6. Fortunately, modern hosting provides both of these addresses. Whatever you want to configure, IPv4 address also has a IPv6 canonical address, so you can use both of them for your internet. So, but why we are talking about this? Because this is important for our machine to work. So let me give you a quick example. Right now, what I would do is visit a service like google.com, and I have a extension, and we will do traceroute. So what traceroute actually means is it actually tracks how my request is going to the server and how the request is getting back to me. And this will show us a pretty interesting nature. So all these addresses, as you can see, are IPv6 addresses. Some of these are web addresses also. So my request is going from my own like kind of machine, and then to this server, then finally going to google.com. Then google.com is again resolving it with another request, and then it is coming back to my PC. So these are there are 6 hops. If you go to a normal website, like let's say, what can be a normal website? Let's say mobile web dev. Because it's not like Google, so we haven't configured it too much. So let's go ahead and see what is the traceroute in this case. So we are sending a packet, and this is getting hopped over different services around the world. By the way, I have another utility, which is wait a minute if that thing is working actually. Okay, so these are the hops. Our network request was lost totally in this path, so there was a problem. And this question mark means that our request was lost. So let's try doing that same thing with our this application. So what this application does is that it goes and travels along the path and creates a route. So you see like how fast it is. Let's see what it looks like. So firstly, we have 192.168.0.1, which is my local computer. So if you go back to our slide, yeah, so this is our client computer. So that is why the address looks something like 192.168.0.1. Then we have the firewall. So this is the firewall address, which is 10.11.2.1. And then we have the router. So now the router can be in different steps. In my case, I am using an internet provider called as Triple Play. So my Triple Play is taking requests to Airtel. These are the 3 IPs. These are routing requests to each other. And then finally it is going to this server, which is my proxy server in this case. How you actually recognize proxy servers? That they mostly start with this 1.8 has to be the first 2 configurations for a proxy server. And then it is going to the actual server, and then it is hitting my website. So this is the travel that it has to do. Let's see if we can have another website. Let's track our website quimbit.com. So these are the hops that are taking place in case of quimbit.com. Again, my local machine, a firewall, So it has still didn't recognized which service is in between as in case of router. So triple play, Airtel, this is our proxy, this is our CDN. CDN most probably I have 1.5 in the starting, and then we have the actual website. So this is the long path that it takes, and it only takes 150 milliseconds. So guys, that's even smaller than a blink of an eye, and it is traveling the whole world in this case, in just this fraction of seconds, 150 milliseconds. So that is how efficient today's internet is. So, and that is all because of these IPv addresses. So IPv4, 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 nobody is using IPv6 in this case. These are domain names which have their own IPv4 addresses. So pretty cool, right? Let's see what else we have. Next, we have content delivery network. Now, I have talked about content delivery network a lot of times in recent sessions. And today I'll explain you what a content delivery network is. So imagine like your website is running in India, in a server located in India, and some of your clients are coming from America and they are trying to access your website. So a request has to actually physically go through all these places to first of all reach to India, and then it has to travel back to go to America. And believe it or not, our internet still runs on fiber optic cables that are laid deep beneath the ocean. It is not traveling in satellites anyway, because satellites are still considered to be a very inefficient process in terms of data travel. It can be only one way, but in two-way communication, satellites are not very good. So that's why a satellite phone has that over and out functionality, because it cannot travel in both ways. And your satellite TV, it provides you a 4K quality, but that's only one-sided. So internet, that's why it cannot work on satellite communication. So we still rely on fiber optic cables that are underneath our ocean. And we just want to see, let's see, fiber optic internet map. So this is how the global internet fiber optic map looks like. There are so many cables which are laid down by different CDN providers. Some of them are by Google, some of them are by internet providers, and this is how the world is connected. So for example, if you are using internet in India, so it most probably is coming through Vadodara. This is the place from where our internet is coming from. Then you have Bangalore, and so every country has an uplink, and this is how the world internet is connected using only these small cables. This is how efficient the process is. So that means if somehow your application is hosted in India and the client is coming from America, so let's trace how a person is traveling. So request firstly needs to go through this place. Then this may seems like the shortest path, but there are many hops. So that is why a request will take place and go through the least hops possible. And it goes there. Maybe these are Ascension Islands, something like this, near Somali pirates. And then it is going over here, and then it is coming back to here. Then it is going to your place. So there are so many hops. And it is the duty of proxy server to decide which route the packet has to take. And even if you are loading a single website, there can be multiple routes through which the packets may be traveling. So some of them will be traveling through this side, some of them can be traveling from the other side of the world, some of them taking this path, some of them taking this path. So as far as your website loads in time, that is what most matters. It doesn't matter which path it takes. And so that is why these are like so efficient process. But still, going the request in this way and then going back, it can take more time than expected. So that is why we came up with the concept of CDN, content delivery networks. What this CDN actually does, it caches the one copy of your website to different servers located in different parts of the world. So the request will actually intercept the nearest CDN server which has the copy of your website and would respond from the same server. And this server will regularly visit your actual server and create a copy of website regularly. So one of a popular CDN service is like Cloudflare, and this is how they have explained how the things work. So for example, if your server is right now located in Texas, America, which is the biggest hub for servers because it's dry, there is no moisture, so less chances of corrosion, and also there are a lot of abundant of solar power, so they can easily run servers from here. So for example, if your client is located in a place in what is this, China or maybe Belarus, I don't know. So this actually goes to a CDN server which has a copy of your website, and this CDN server checks regularly from this server, and right now this CDN server will respond quickly to the request. So it doesn't need to have the traffic always live. So for example, in this diagram you can see someone in Africa is trying to access the website, and the website, this CDN server knows that there is no update in the content, so it would just respond from this point. So the request doesn't travel a whole lot to the second place and makes these matchups. So that is why we use CDN. Using CDN is very easy. So you just need to visit a CDN service. Most popular is Cloudflare. And what Cloudflare actually does is that you have to tell Cloudflare to act as an intermediary server. So instead of pointing your web domain address directly to your server, you point it to Cloudflare, and then Cloudflare points it to your actual server. So that's how you configure CDN. Let me log into one of my account and show you how a CDN configuration looks like. So I would go through particularly some of the important aspects. So these are the number of visitors that are visiting our website. If we don't have a CDN, these visitors will be directly hitting our server. That means a lot of traffic will be coming. But what we see here, these are the visitors and these are the requests they are making to our actual server. So somehow these are proportional to each other. A person may have multiple requests, so that's why requests are more than the unique users. And this is the percentage of content that is from the cache. So 15% times the person who is visiting our website is actually accessing the cached content instead of the actual website. And we have saved this much amount of traffic, 90 MB. Now you would consider 90 MB is nothing, but in terms of websites, when every MB and every seconds matter, this is a lot. And this is the amount of cached content. Now I can also go through a more kind of practical solution. So Twimbit.com is a global service in which we serve our client fresh content at a very optimum speed. So we use a CDN service called as StackPath, and this has servers all around the world. And let me show you how that service actually looks like. So if I go to Twimbit.com, go to CDN, here we control CDN TTL. So CDN TTL means CDN time to life. So it explains itself that what is the expiration, when does the content expires, and when does the CDN goes to the actual servers and checks the content again. In this case, I have used 30 days because we know that our front end code is not getting updated daily. But our content, the actual media files are getting updated. So that is another CDN that we are using. But for our front end, the code is just updating every 30 days. So I'm sure that the 30 days TTL will be fine. And then we have content persistence, which means that even if my backend server goes like fire up, still our front end will look live because our CDN will take place at that point. So this is how does it looks like. And let me go in analytics and show you this data. Now you can see that there are a lot of requests than this simple website over here. Right now we had only 2.4 visitors, 244 visitors, but in this case we have 5,800 visitors on an average every day. So this is the amount of traffic that we are talking about. So if we go to CDN, we can see how many people, edge means the CDN itself. So how many people are hitting the edge and how many people are hitting the origin. And in this case, more people are hitting the edge rather than the origin. So we are basically saving a lot of time, saving a lot of bandwidth in this case. And these are the locations where different, these are the different CDN locations where our content is copied. So you can see that the more Singapore is the closest part. Our backend server is located in Singapore, and most of our people accessing the content are in Singapore. So most of the content is cached in Singapore, and it's 19.5 MB. Our whole backend, the front end code is around 2 MB. So this is a lot in considering this because it creates copies of different content. And we have a cache hit ratio of 71%. So that means 71% of time a person is hitting our CDN instead of the actual server, whereas in this case it was only 15%. So let me go ahead and show you how I have configured the CDN. So when you get into a CDN, you just need to add a new site. And for example, let's add mobile web dev, and let's go ahead and add mobile web dev as a CDN solution.
Aman, that 15% was for which case? You mentioned this case, but I mean, for what you were referring to, 15% times hitting CDN?
Yeah. So that is another website that I'm helping them with. It's called betterdrones.in, and it's a normal drone company. So they have more like kind of less people coming on the platform than us. So the CDN decides if there are not a lot of traffic and there is no kind of urgency, so it doesn't caches that much of content. Okay. So now I'm going to show you a live example how you can configure your own CDN. So before considering that you are configuring CDN, you already have a domain purchased and you already have a hosting, and now you are going to add a CDN to this layer. So we'll go ahead and choose for a free plan, which is fine for personal website, blogs, and all those things. So by the way, we purchased our domain from Google Domains. So I'll go to Google Domains. So when I added this DNS record, my Cloudflare automatically picked up all the records that needs to be that already exist on my other server. I will tell more about these records later, and these are very important for the communication. Right now, what I just need to do is to hit the continue button. It means it's just giving me authentication that okay, whether it has fetched all the content right or not. So for me, it looks fine. We have TXT record, MX record, CNAME, A record, and all those things. So let's go ahead and hit continue. Now what it will actually say that we have to remove this name server and change it with this name server. That's pretty interesting because name server is the first hitting point for your domain. So as the name suggests, name server means that when somebody comes to your website, which server it should go, and that is called the name server. So before the actual IP address of your server, there is a name server that resolves this request. So let's go inside Google Domains, domain.google. So today's internet is very slow, so you know how many requests are going. And next time you just curse the internet, so you might be kind of a little bit sympathetic that yeah, it has to go through a lot of requests, so it makes sense. Sometime it might be slow. Okay, please go ahead. Okay, now we are back up again. So you can see Google GSE is the web server they are using. So I think this is the account that has my Google Domains. I'll go to my domains. So we have mobile web dev. We'll open this link. Go to DNS. So DNS stands for domain name server. And right now we were using Google domain name server. And we will go and click on use custom server. And we'll copy the address that Cloudflare has provided us and paste them over here. Now there can be 2 records, sometimes they can be 4 records, but it's what the CDN actually tells us. So we go ahead and save. So it says it will turn off the DNSSEC before changing the name server. I will say change name server anyway, because I don't care what it has written. Okay, so usually it takes 48 hours for these changes to propagate, but if you are having a good domain name provider like Google Domains, it would actually take place a lot faster than we expect. And the next thing is how you can track if your name server has been changed or not. So for this, we have a service called as What's My DNS. We will go ahead and type our website name mobileweb.dev, and we'll check what is the name server record for this server. So what this will actually do, this will travel the whole world and will tell us that at which locations our name servers has been updated. As you can see, this is still our old name server because it hasn't propagated yet. The internet is a very complex kind of world, so it needs a little bit of time to update this record in every proxy server on the world. So proxy server needs to know that which is the name server pointing to that domain name. So we have to check it a couple of times, and let me go ahead and explain you other things, and meanwhile we'll check back again if this thing has propagated within 2, 3, 4 minutes or not, because I think it's going to take time. But when it happens, this new server name server will look exactly like Cloudflare name server, and then we can go and hit this step called as done, check name servers, and our CDN will be applied. So let's continue with our deck. That is how CDN actually, you can play CDN and how it is caching your content. And these were the advantages. One of the advantages is even if your main server fails, a CDN can show a backup copy of your whole website. It also improves the security because now the request is going through the CDN, and most of the CDN also have something called as web application firewall, which filters down the request and only allows good requests to go through. Okay, so after that we have name servers, and this is what I was talking about now. So imagine domain name server DNS to be a phone book repository of the internet. So a domain name server knows that which internet website points to which domain name server, and domain name like New York Times or ESPN.com have different domain name servers, and there is a distributed database system that keeps record of which domain name points to which name server. So a common scenario that this is the client, it is accessing this website called as example.com, which is going to this DNS resolver. Now this DNS resolver obviously knows that which web server it is pointing to, and then it is taking that request and then it is giving back the response. So this is how the DNS works, and you can configure the DNS on your domain name provider. So for in our case, last time we had Google Domains for our domain name provider, so we changed the DNS name server in our domain name provider. But if you are using something like GoDaddy, you purchase your domains. So let's log in. So this is at twimbit.com. I won't show the direct name server for this one, but I can show you for this one. So let's go to the DNS section. Meanwhile, let's also keep checking if our name server is getting updated or not. Still no hope. So here you can see there is a different name server section, and you can change the name server whenever you want. This is the directly name server of our server. So that's also a thing. So this is what you need to consider. If you are not using a CDN, then the name server will be the actual server. Servers also have their own name servers. And how you can actually get them is pretty easy. You just go to your cPanel and you will be able to see the name server on the right hand side. Okay, so this was about the name servers. Next thing is SSL, and most people understand SSL as the certificate, and yes, that is true. As the SSL certificate is authenticity that your website is secure, but technically SSL stands for Secure Socket Layer, and what it means that there is a secure link between the user and the server. That means there is an encryption technology going in between the user and the server, and there can be no one intercepting the signal and getting the information out of it. So SSL has something called as an encryption key again, with the thing that we were discussing yesterday, and that encryption key holds the pattern that would actually inflate and decrypt the content traveling through the network. So that is why SSL is very important, and that's why we see HTTPS, this lock-like thing, and this says connection is secure. So if we go to a website like twimbit.com, you will still see a SSL certificate, connection is secure. And that means the communication that is between this platform and that of this server is secure. Same is the case with mobile web dev, and SSL are mostly free these days. You can go to your server provider inside the cPanel, and you can access this SSL certificate over there also. And your CDN service can also provide you SSL certificate. These days, CDN also provides you SSL certificates. Thanks to Google that they tried to implement and force use of SSL for all websites, and they made it free. So now everybody can use SSL certificate. So if you are publishing anything, just remember to use SSL certificate. Next is
I understand that this encryption will just ensure that no hacker can actually read the request or response being sent, right?
Yes, if you are on the same network and he knows what IP address it's traveling through, then there are a couple of different methods by which he can intercept your request. But if you have a good SSL certificate for the website, then the communication is encrypted, and he would need the exactly same SSL certificate to do that, which is nearly impossible, and the connection will remain secure.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see what a web application firewall is. So web application firewall act in the same way as the CDN does. It is an intermediary service between the destination server and the actual host. So it just filters all the traffic. So if there is a hacker who wants to steal some information or attack your website, so a web application firewall will block that request and only allows the good request to go through. So also web application firewall uses a proxy server so that the actual server location is not revealed, and this exactly act as a proxy between the actual server and all that. Let me go ahead and also show you example of proxy server. Web application firewall. So Securi is one of the web application firewall service that we use. Cloudflare also has a web application firewall service. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like. So if you go in firewall, yeah, so it has its own firewall rules. So for example, it has a rule for Tor. Tor is a web browser to anonymously check the internet. So it has a firewall rule for this thing. Then it has a couple of more firewall rules: HTTP flood, SYN flood. I don't know more about these things, so that's why it's better to have a firewall provided by the CDN. Let's go ahead and see a complex report. So every day our platform Twiml.com is attacked by many people. Yeah, and we are not kind of sad about it because we have our own web application firewall in place, and this firewall prevents all the attacks coming to the platform. So let me show you what are the attacks that we saw in just 3 days and how web application firewall is protecting us. Till then, let's also see if our name service is updated. Yeah, now you can see our server is updated in Paris and also in Russia and also in Thailand. So soon it will be kind of propagated to the all servers in the world, also in New Zealand. So this takes a little bit of time, and this request travels a little bit slow. Yeah, now you can see it is traveling much more rapidly. So let's see the attacks that we faced in just 3 days. So we have blocked by IDS, we have request not authorized, we have some of the requests are blocked by certain countries, like our website can't run in Taiwan and China. So we ban all the users that are coming from this world. Then we have DDoS request that we block, and then we have bad bot access. So bots also attack the website, so we also have that thing denied. So if we go to something like 6 months, there are much worse requests, and I can't imagine if this web application firewall won't have existed, how many times we would have compromised our security.
Yeah.
Okay, so this also tells us about how many requests are blocked by certain countries. And India, we got most of these attacks from India only. That means somehow India has the most amount of attackers. And then US was the second one. Then Czech Republic was the third. No, Czech Republic wasn't the third. I think France was the third one. So we regularly go and check these reports and also see how the traffic is behaving in different hours, how many requests are cached or non-cached, so all this information. So this is how web application firewall works. We have another web application firewall as a second layer of security provided by StackPath. So let's go ahead and see also what that report says. So we go to Twiml.com, we go to web application firewall, and we have these settings that I've set for web application firewall and also the rules that I want to care about. And let's go and see the analytics for web application firewall. And you can see these are 372 policies that we have created. These gets added and removed depending upon how the web application firewall company thinks that what policies they should introduce. And these are the attacks. This is the most recent one. This is today, 14th May, and this is 4:45 p.m. just 2 minutes before we actually logged in. So we just had an attack 2 minutes before. So you see how much frequency of attacks are happening. And this was unknown user agent, which was prevented. Basically, people use bots, and this is one of that request. So at 4:39, we had another attack from US that was traffic from hosting service, which is also not allowed. You cannot get a traffic from a server. It can be only from a client. So we removed that kind of request. So many attacks from US today. Why you usually would see a particular country in the attack list? Because a hacker would plan a series of attacks rather than just one. So we had another attack from Malaysia this afternoon at 3:43. This was a spam attack, and it was a JavaScript validation. This was also blocked, and so that means our overall platform is looking good. And these are the blocked requests, and these are the past requests. So pretty good over there. Let's see if our DNS is propagated. Still no, but now we have more countries. Our website has reached Brazil. Yeah, that would go on for a couple of minutes. This is pretty interesting stuff. As soon as you learn more things about how internet works, it's really fascinating how you can control your internet, how it moves around the world, and pretty good tools. So you can use What's My DNS to track down this website request. So let's go ahead and see what does google.com has its name server. So Google has its own ns1.google.com as its name server. And as we know that China doesn't allow Google search, so that is why they don't have any DNS in China. So that is another interesting thing. Let's see for Facebook. Sometimes a country can also have different name servers in different regions. That's not a big of an issue. So Facebook is not allowed in Russia and China. Another interesting fact. So we don't see any kind of activity over there. So let's get back to our session. Yep, so web application firewall is clear. It has reverse proxy, filters out the request and all those things. Okay, now we are talking about the records. Now a domain name doesn't only provides and points to one kind of information. A domain can have the website, which is the primary use of domain name, but it can also have email addresses. Like for example, if you are using aman@twimbit.com, so a domain name is also providing access to the email address. Sometime you would be using it to host a GitHub page. So a GitHub page will provide you something like twimbit.github.io, but you want this to point to your actual server. So this is called canonical name. So all these things are known as records. So a particular record example will look like this. And when we were changing the name over here, these were actually the records that we were changing. So you have A record, you have MX record, you have C name, you have NS, PTR, SOA, SO, SRV, TXT, and CAA. I would talk about the most important one and also tell you what is the role of which I like zone address and these records, and we'll talk about that. But before that, let's go and authenticate our name server because I think Cloudflare would be able to pick it. Okay, now it is asking us what kind of SSL and encryption we want. Always use full, don't use full strict because sometimes this website is not having confidential information, so we don't want a strict action against those who are not using it. So we'll just use the full one. And we'll click on always use HTTPS. So even if the request is coming as HTTP, it will be forwarded as HTTPS. And let's also minify JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, a good practice, and done. So that's it. Our CDN is configured. And now as soon as all the request gets the new DNS address, we'll be having our own CDN. So let's care about India right now. So they are checking the address from Bhubaneswar. When this one goes with Cloudflare, we'll hit and check if our request is going through the CDN or not. And we'll see what is the difference between speed with a CDN or not without the CDN. So let's talk about the A record first. So A stands for address. And this contains the address of the IP address of your server. So remember that when we migrated our record from our server to this Cloudflare, there were different types of record that it actually exported. And here we had the A name record. So A name has the address behind it. Now mobile web dev is hosted on GitHub pages. And how you can actually tell, when you visit the website, just check the webalizer and you will be seeing GitHub pages over here, right? So we use GitHub pages to host this thing. And this IP address, which we have over here for mobile web dev, is actually from GitHub pages. How you can tell it? Just copy this address, paste it over here, and GitHub will open and it will say GitHub pages site here. We don't serve this page. So we know that, yeah, this address for mobile web dev is pointing to this address, and this goes over here. Now you would be wondering why we have multiple address, and these addresses are a little bit different, as you can see. So why we have multiple address is for redundancy. If somehow this address doesn't respond, then the request goes to this one. If this doesn't respond, goes to this one. If this doesn't respond, goes to this one. So there are multiple layers that we keep in order to make sure that our website is always visible. And when you hit mobileweb.dev, it just opens instantly. And yeah, this is how it works. Right now, GitHub already provides its own CDN built in using Fastly. But instead we are using our own Cloudflare CDN, which is not a problem. There can be multiple CDNs, and we'll see about that. So A records help you to point the address. But I told you about that now we will be starting to have IPv6 at the server address. So now we have something called as AAA record. So A record was used for IPv4 address, and AAA like 4 times A record is actually used for IPv6 address. I think it should be AAA only, not 4 times A. So AAA record is for IPv6 address and single A record is for IPv4 address. Next thing is CNAME. CNAME stands for canonical name. Now you remember like how your mother calls you with a different name when you are at home, and your friends calls you as a different name when you are in your college or in your office. So we call them nickname. But in terms of website, that is called the CNAME. So what a CNAME actually means, that a website named as Mobile Web Dev can also be known as a different domain name. So if your domain website is hosted on a service like Netlify or GitHub Pages, so they provide you a CNAME first, and then you provide a like configuration that this CNAME points to this domain. So let me show you a live example. If I visit my DNS record, you will be able to see that there is a CNAME over here that points to domain key as Google domain key. This is because our web server was actually hosted on Google domains. So that is why it exists something like this. Now, in this case, we won't need CNAME actually, because our address is directly pointing to the address of the website. But in some cases, you will have a different CNAME address. So let me remember what CNAME address I can show you. So yeah, let's take example of my personal blog website. That is amansharma.dev, and let's go ahead and check what is the CNAME for amansharma.dev. So you just go to amansharma.dev and click on this record called the CNAME, and yeah, it doesn't returns because CNAME policy cannot be discovered. Yeah, I just forgot about that, but there are other ways to recognize it. I know that I used Netlify, I think, to host that website. Yeah, taking some time, but I would go inside GitHub and also show you how GitHub Pages tells you to use a CNAME instead of a DNS record. So let's go to Mobile Web Dev. This is our front end landing page website, the AMP story that you usually see. We go to the settings, go to the GitHub Pages, and you see it says custom domains. Custom domains allow you to serve your website from a domain name other than mobilewebdev.github.io. Now, if I visit this link, I would still be able to see my website, mobilewebdev.github.io / the name of repository. Where is the repository? Yeah, this is the name of repository. So let's type this over here, /mobile-web-dev. So you see, as soon as I type that address, it takes me back to this address because that's exactly the same thing. And CNAME was able to tell that. Once you introduce the CNAME, it doesn't matter which address you use, whether it's mobilewebdev.dev or mobilewebdev.github.io, it will point back to the same address because of the CNAME resolution. And how do you add a CNAME? You just go in your DNS records and go to the DNS. What? Partner hosted. Your DNS file is hosted on your host. Oh, so I didn't know about this feature that Google Domains provide, the feature that if we host the domain name with Cloudflare, you will be still able to edit inside Google Domains. So let's refresh this page. You should be able to see records over here. And that is because I think our domain name has already propagated to India. No, still no. But now Google knows that, yeah, Cloudflare is the CDN that they are using and I should comply with CDN. So yeah, I could actually add that request. Okay, yeah, it says that we have another DNS server. Yeah, so you can see all these records exist over here. We also have a CNAME record for dkim.mcsv.net. This is probably for emails, maybe, I'm not sure. So this is just provided by your own different service. So whenever they say to change an address or record, just need to copy and paste the instruction they say inside your domain name provider and you'll be good to go. So this was about CNAME. Next is MX record. So MX record stands for mail exchange records, and these records are used if you are using a third-party mail agent. So for example, if you want to use G Suite or Outlook or Zoho Mails for with your domain name, like your own personal, if you have a website like amansharma.dev, and if I want to use hello@amansharma.dev, so I have to use a mail client, a mail server, and this mail server will need a MX record in my DNS to point all these emails to this service. So for example, if I go back inside my Google domain, you will see I have a MX record of Zoho. So all our emails will go from my website to this zoho.com, and Zoho will be able to send and receive all these emails. So that is why we use MX record for that. So it can be different for G Suite, for Outlook. So this is for emails. Last we have TXT. And TXT is everything that has to do with everything else than other records. So TXT is mostly used for verification, and these are human readable records. So a good example is that we have used it as SPF. SPF stands for spam filtering for emails. So we have used this to verify our domain name, and we have also used to verify it with another Microsoft service, and we have used TXT record to do that. Now you are seeing that there is a thing called as TTL over here, which is next to your record. So TTL means time to life, which means as soon as you change the address, how soon should this thing should go live. Now you will be considering you should keep it as low as possible, but that is not always the case. For example, if you keep it as a low, then every time address hits, it needs to go back to all the records again and need to check it. But if you keep a high TTL, the request will be saved and it won't check these records again. So just a good practice over here. And meanwhile, let's check if our name server is propagated. Okay, something bad happened. Let's just reload this page. Looks like what's my DNS is down. There are other ways to track down the DNS also. Okay, this is back again. Still in Bhubaneswar we don't have Cloudflare, but on other countries now, London also has Cloudflare. United States also has Cloudflare. I think we should be fine with these records. Let's go and try to recheck the domain again. Okay, so it looks like, okay, I think this is a different website. I'm sorry. Yeah. So now it says that Cloudflare is protecting our website and these requests has been cached. So if we visit Mobile Web Dev now, we still don't see CDN over here because in India still Cloudflare is not propagated. But as soon as it propagates to India, we'll be able to see Cloudflare. So now all our traffic for Mobile Web Dev is going through Cloudflare. So this is how easy it is to set up CDN, and then you can go to DNS to change all the records depending upon different services that you will be using. Then you can also set a proxy. So proxy helps you to protect your original IP address, and that's also a good way to do it. So that's all, and let's see if we have any other record to explain. No, that's it. Yeah, and I know, like you might be thinking it's too fascinating, like how actually the internet works. It's like boom of things and all these things that we are talking about. Even the video call that is running right now, it's going through all these world internet, and it's just happening within seconds. And we sometimes complain that yeah, lag aa raha hai yaar, game mein ping bahut zyada aa raha hai. So, but still, it's incredible how efficient this system is, how fast it works.